Rappers, are you afraid to put your music out because you think you sound too much like somebody else? You're gonna want to check out this user submitted question that I'm getting ready to tackle. Hey. Rappers, this last week, actually July 27th, I was presented a question by Dominic Mosley. He asked, "Hey Curtis, I've been hesitant to getting into making music because my favorite artist and inspiration uses the exact ambient, flowing sounds and melodies that fuel my imagination. And I feel if I get into it, I'll only sound like a worse version of him because my taste in music is so close to his. How can I get over this situation?" Okay, there's a few things that I would address immediately. If Dominic was here in front of me, I would first of all shake him. I'd be like, "Look, man, you can't worry about them kind of things. I know that you're probably more concerned, I'm assuming that you're not concerned so much as you sounding like that artist, because you know that your sound is unique to who you are. You know that sound is, your representation of what you think music should sound like. I think you might be more so worried about what the people on the outside are going to say and how they'll pass judgment once they hear your music. They're going to be like, oh, you're biting off of this dude. And I understand that worry, but let me let you know. Whether you try to not do it or whether you decide to do it, people are going to still draw that comparison if it's who you are. You can't get away from that. So knowing that this is who you are and this is the sounds that you like, now you got to start getting creative. What you got to get creative about is figuring out, okay, so I like ambient sounds, but are there other sounds that I like that this other person doesn't like? Well, how can I incorporate that into my music? Are there certain synthesizers that you've never heard anybody else use that you're saying, you know what, if I find a producer that's willing to put these sounds in, I can do that? Is there a certain song format that you can present to where it distracts people so much from trying to draw comparisons that they're like, yeah, it may sound a little bit like this guy, but he's completely different. I mean, think about me, for instance. I get called The Weeknd every other weekend. And even when I wear a hat, man, I get called The Weeknd every other weekend, and it's starting to weekend piss me off. Not because he's not talented. That dude is really talented, and I'm honored that people think, mostly women, think that I look like The Weeknd. But come on, man. I know who I am. And as soon as I open my mouth up and I start talking like this, people are like, no, that's Curtis. That's definitely Curtis King. That ain't no Weeknd. We could be like, I just released new music this week. You guys should listen to it if you want. I know better. I'm not worried about that. So, when I first came out, it's funny because the music that I was making was very ambient and it was going into another direction that I thought was like, yo, this is going to be the next wave. And then some guy named Drake's come out and he starts being all light-skinned like me. And I made music and I used to perform and do my hand like this when I performed, and I did it like years before. And then all of a sudden, I see him doing this and it's in front of hundreds of thousands of people. I'm in front of 30 or 40 people and he's doing this and they're like, you doing a Drake hand. And I'm like, fam, what do I do now? So I went opposite direction. I really took it the extreme of the advice that I'm giving you right now. When I said find something unique out there that you can incorporate into your music, I went the extreme. I said, forget that. I'm about to make my image look like something I've never seen. So I put blonde inside the tip of my flat top, and then I started rocking a flat top amongst other people who were rocking fades and kind of just, doing their own thing. I said, you know what? I fit too much within everybody. I need to be identified as somebody that's unique as hell. So then I did that, and I was like, you know what? It's not enough. So then I started going to the not the swap meet, but the Goodwill, and getting sort of the secondhand clothes and trying to find like what is the ugliest shirt inside this spot. And so I went there and I started rocking these shirts that used to be popular in the 90s. And then some guy named Tyler the Creator came out and started making that his stick. So here's the thing. If you play that game, if you go the extreme, no matter what, you're going to always have somebody. If you have not made it, you're going to have somebody that you're going to be compared to. Get over it. It's fine. At the end of the day, you got to tell your story, and your story is unique to you. Because whoever Dominic Mosley is, you got stories that I have never heard before. You have had things happen in your life, things happen to you that have changed the way that you present yourself. Maybe you're not as hyped up as this. Maybe you're kind of a cool person. Well, why are you a cool person? What a part of your environment, what part of your upbringing made you who you are? If you're worried so much about this other person, let me tell you like this, subconsciously you're setting yourself up for danger. So as you're making music, you're saying in your mind, I don't want to sound like this person, I don't want to sound like this person, I don't want to sound like this person. But in your mind it's like you're having a war, because it's like, well, why don't you want to sound like this sound if you like this sound? And this is a sound that you feel like you kind of put together yourself. You're rebelling against your natural instincts to do something great by trying to mix it up with something that has nothing to do with the creation of music. Your perception of being like somebody else on the outside, that's not natural to your music creation process. It's natural to you as a human being, but you gotta separate that. You gotta let whatever comes out, come out, and let it flow naturally. Whoever you are supposed to be as an artist, it's not gonna be the same thing 2 years from now. So you may start off and you may sound like whoever this artist is. You may sound like this very ambient artist. You may have this sound that you think is so much like them, but guess what? You're gonna grow. Guess what? They're gonna grow too. And you guys at some point in time are gonna go into two different directions, because the more you become a professional, the more you start to figure out your particular uniqueness, the more you wanna do that. The more you're like, you know what, I've been riding my lane for a few years, but now I'm ready to do donuts in that lane because I've mastered it so well, I can do donuts in this lane. So stop thinking that today means forever. Today doesn't mean forever, today just means today. So if you sound like that artist, so what? Try to mash out 50 songs until you're sick of the sound. Until you feel like I have to do something different, not because of this artist, but because I want something different for myself. Once you make those decisions, you won't have to worry about that, and things will switch just like that for you, my friend. Once again, it's another Curtspiration. I'm Doodle. If you need some more of this juice, please subscribe to the channel below. Be a part of the notification gang. I don't know how Rick James ended up coming channeling through me like that, but shout out to him. Thank you to all my Patreon supporters, those of you that are supporting this campaign, supporting these videos, supporting the growth of this channel, supporting your boy eventually going to the professional speaking school of Les Brown. I appreciate y'all. If you want to become a Patreon member, if you rappers, if you want one free beat a month, producers, if you want a consultation, some drum kits, even a discount on my new product, how to produce, what? That ain't your product. How to make your own website / beat store as a music producer. This is the place to go to. And then also too, you know, doubling back on the subject at hand, don't worry about sounding like somebody else. You gotta do you. You gotta understand that you were giving a God-given gift. And if I don't know if you believe in God, I don't know if you believe in the creator, but if you talk to your creator and he was like, I gave you this gift, why didn't you use it? Well, because it looked too much like somebody else's. You'd probably be embarrassed. You gotta do the work. You gotta put it in. Wait, what? You gotta put in the work. Forgive me. Richie almost spit his water out. Forgive me. You gotta put the work in, and you got to understand that you're going to change naturally over time, especially when you're doing something you love. Sometimes you may need to just stop listening to that artist completely. Just take a break and just create whatever comes within your mind, within your heart. Let it all flow out and just continue to create until things start to change. Add different elements. Don't be afraid of growing. In this life, you will not be full of life until you decide to live life to its fullest. I'm Curtis King of CurtisKingBeats.com.
I can't listen to you. When I listen to you, it's a liability. Cause you be mentally killing my inner energy. So I'm concealing my feelings before you injure me.